Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Greg Jackson, and today we're going to talk a little bit about the WNBA player salaries and what each player has to go through. Not each player, but what they have to go through each season just to play a sport that they love in their home country. And I can start off by saying, as a basketball player myself, high school to be exact, I know how hard the physical demands are. And I remember things like the Lisa Leslie dunk. I remember in 2005, my favorite WNBA team, the Sacramento Monarchs, won its first WNBA championship. So that kind of made me want to read more into the sport and find out more about the players and just little things like that. And as I was reading and finding out, a little bit more about the sport and the league, it was a trend that started that started popping up. It was, you'll like a player, and then all of a sudden that player will leave, so, and you will never hear that player again. So as I delve into more research and reading about certain players that I didn't see anymore, I came to find out that it was player salaries. Like, the WNBA really don't want to pay players. They want to, but I don't think that they can. I think that the money that they're losing is causing them to not be able to pay their players like how they want to, but at the same time it's hurting the talent, because you have players actually leaving the league because of salaries. And even still, I ask myself questions like, could you do two things at one time, or could you work two jobs, work one season, and that following season you start another job? And a lot of people, to the hindsight, would say, yeah, they can do it. Like, two jobs is easy, working two jobs is easy. But could you continuously give 100% of yourself to that job every day, every minute of the day, like you're supposed to? And as I asked myself that question, it was crazy, because I didn't know the answer to that. First I said yeah, then I said no after playing a couple of basketball games. So I knew for a fact that wasn't gonna work. So I give credit to those women playing year-round basketball. That's tough. But I know one of the major problems in women's basketball is the salary. And it's crazy, because I know overseas they get paid twice as much. They get paid twice as much as they do here. And I know one of the problems that we have in the WNBA, or that they have in the WNBA, is I feel making women play professional basketball year round just to earn enough money to make a decent living is kind of selfish and dangerous at the same time. And according to Forbes.com, many of the WNBA players get paid twice as much as they do here to play overseas. And I want to say an article posted on ESPN in 2015 said that the Phoenix Mercury star Diana Taurasi, which she's like a big star, she received $1.2 million just to rest for off season in China. In China, she just got paid to rest and get ready for the upcoming season. So she set out the WNBA season because she didn't get paid any money. Why would you pay? Why would you play a sport and you're not getting paid that money that you're supposed to, you're supposed to, and the other team paying you $1.2 million? I sit out too. Also, it wasn't just her. Even before her, according to MLive.com, one of the stars that when I first started watching, her name was Deanna Tweet Nolan. Well, her name is Deanna Tweet Nolan. She's a great star. She's good. And 2009, she left. She left the league. She left because she said the salary, and she got paid twice as much as she did in Russia. So she stayed over there. She forfeited her WNBA career. She never came back, and all because of player salaries. She said it wasn't enough to make a decent living. A decent living. So And then also, I know according to Intap, Store Intap did an article, and according to them, the WNBA started in 1997 with a $15 million marketing budget, and the average attendance was 9,000. Like, that's ridiculous. Well, it's not ridiculous, but that's decent compared to what it is today. In 2017, the WNBA saw its highest average attendance at 7,716. So, I mean, and that was since 2007. That was in 2017, and that was the highest since 2011. Also, according to WNBA.com, the WNBA saw an increase in record sales on the WNBA store. That increase was like 18%. So that was also a big increase. Another problem is each WNBA season is played in the summer, which is the off season for the NBA. But for some women, the season begins right after graduation. So, I mean, you graduate college, and a couple weeks later, you go into the draft. A couple weeks later after that, you start in training camp. It's like you never had that time to actually adjust yourself or get into a transition. And according to TheGuardian.com, nearly 90 players out of 144 WNBA players played overseas. So that's more than half. That's more than half of the players that's playing overseas, in which many of the WNBA rookies don't have much time to transition, like I said, after graduate from college, because as soon as they graduate, it's straight to the NBA. WNBA. Then after the WNBA, they're going overseas, and it's a continuous thing over and over. I say one of the solutions we could have would be to give players a raise in salaries, by giving players a reasonable raise, along with affordable health care that they're able to take care of their family with. It should give players the incentive to actually want to stay home in the off season instead of going overseas to make extra money and then putting that wear and tear on their bodies. And I know according to an article on ESPN.com, last year the average pay for a WNBA player was $116,000. And with that being said, the rookies of the WNBA were only paid about $41,000 in 2018. On that website, in that article, they also mentioned Phoenix DeWanna Bonner at being the WNBA's top earner at $127,000. So that was right around that average of 116. And while we say that, you say well, that's a decent amount of money. But in 2018-2019, Stephen Curry and LeBron James were paid respectively $34 million and $33 million apiece for that average year. Just $34 million and $33 million. So yeah, that's a lot. A big difference right there. Also, according to ESPN.com, women who play professional basketball in Russia were considered stars, and they're likely already to get a starting salary of $500,000. That's 400, twice as much, 3 times as much as what you would get paid here in the WNBA starting off. So, I mean, that's crazy. Over there, you consider a star, and they started you off at $500,000. Like I said, former Detroit Shock star Deanna Nolan, she stayed over there. I mean, what's the point of playing in WNBA when I get paid way more money just to play in Russia? And that's not debatable. I'm pretty sure a lot of us would take that. And also, I say up to percentage of the revenue. I say pay WNBA players at least 40% of the shared revenue that they get yearly. Right now, the WNBA players only get 25% of the yearly gross revenue that the WNBA makes as a whole. So 25% is not, it's good, but it's not as much as it should be. I mean, at least split it 40 40, 60, 35, 65, something. Also, like another thing would be moving the schedule back to around more of a traditional schedule. Like nobody's really riding around and checking for a WNBA game in the summer. I think a lot of us is out shopping with family, taking family vacations. So I feel like moving the WNBA schedule back to a more traditional starting season would generate a lot more viewerships. I mean, you look at the NCAA; they make money each year. Maybe not in the women's division, but I know men's in fall and fall and winter, like those are mainly like when people are in the house and trying to find something to watch on TV. Also, the ABL, which operated, at the same time as WNBA, they started their season in a more traditional time, around August, September. It was more around fall, winter, traditional is when the ABL started, in which the ABL did pay their players a lot more money. Well, I want to say also the average WNBA career is about 5 years according to Forbes.com. And also according to Forbes.com, the ABL was able to pay most of their stars like a way higher salary than the NBA. I mean WNBA. They said the ABL paid an average around $50,000 to $150,000, while the WNBA paid around $10,000 to $50,000. So that's like a big gap. I say $50,000 to $150,000 to $10,000 to $50,000. Like that's not a competition, in which the WNBA was largely funded by the NBA when they first started off the first 2 seasons. So that also helped them generate a lot more money too. Now, I say it was about 15 teams when they first started out, and now it's you got about 12 teams, got 5 owners from the NBA with WNBA, considering you had XO amount of teams to fold. So I mean, it could have been better, but at the same time, the NBA was losing money. So when you're losing money, there's no way you're gonna stay in something. You're gonna back out of it. In closing, I like to refer back to paying the WNBA players a higher salary. Graduating college that's once in a lifetime. I mean, getting drafted is also once in a lifetime, but that time should be filled with spending time with family, going to cookouts, taking vacations, taking some time off from a grueling schedule, because being a college athlete is hard with schedule and trying to balance everything out and still have a social life. So I mean, like I said, those times should be filled with cookouts and travels and spending time with friends and unwind after a 4-year adventure. That's all. So many good things go along with so many bad things, so take the good and the bad. So you really have to try to enjoy that time. But in reality, many college players that aren't graduating aren't focused on those things that I mentioned. Instead, they're focused on like finding agents, where they're gonna play overseas, even though the WNBA season haven't even started yet. They're thinking about the workouts. What team are they gonna play for? And I say, with the NCAA season officially ending in April, followed by the draft, many players aren't afforded that break, and then trying to get acclimated to playing professional basketball and overseas, that's kind of a fast transition. I say the pushing it back till the fall would be more of a lenient thing, and it would make more sense, because it also gives those players that's graduating time to actually do those things that I mentioned. So yeah, I mean, and plus they have to prepare for a demanding season. I mean, 34 games, night in and night out, and you're flying from different city to different city. It can take a toll on you. So you really want that time to try to let your body adjust to what it's about to go through, because it's not easy. Last but not least, salaries. Like I said, this article or this topic has been about trying to get, them to get paid a little bit more than what they do because of what they do and what they go through. Salaries have been like a major reason why some superstars of the WNBA voted for other leagues. I say many stars in the WNBA feel as if the NBA kind of gave them enough money to start the league, in which a lot of stars say that they said they gave them money to start, but they didn't give them enough to succeed with, if that makes sense. That's what some players say, So I mean, hopefully they feel that way. I know this year they got a little bit of a pay raise. I want to say they went up 100,000. So I mean, it's not what we would want, but it's a good thing, and I feel like we're moving in the right direction when it comes to that. I say viewership can be better, but it takes us. We have to make that change. We have to fight for it. Pretty sure, some of us have mothers, sisters, aunts, and we want them to, if they're playing the sport, if they're playing the same sport as a man, we feel as if pay can't be equal. It should be a little bit close in range, because they go out and they do what they do, and some of them are really good. So I feel like salary should be better. Hopefully you guys found this video a little bit helpful and a little bit insight into the WNBA and what their players go through, and the demand that's put on them. So hope you guys have a good evening. Thank you. Bye bye.